look at this. It is basically summer here in Saskatchewan, Canada. It usually never rains, and so I love the rain. I'm originally from Seattle, and so I had to be out in it, and it's kind of amazing. Later it's going to freeze, and it'll be very difficult to get anywhere, but with COVID-19, we don't have anywhere to get to, so might as well have it rain and then be slippery later. Before my book gets thrashed from this rain, I wanted to share today's book. Welcome back to day 10 of Theology BookMAS, and today's book is Why We're Not Emergent from Two Guys Who Should Be by Kevin DeYoung and Ted Kluck. This is a throwback. If you've been reading theology over the last, what has it been, 2008, so 12 years, you know who Kevin DeYoung is, and you probably have read this book. And as someone who was in Bible college at the time and thinking about ministry, I think everyone who was doing that at that time read this book, was deeply impacted by it, because this is one of the books that kind of led to the young, restless, reformed movement getting a little bit more traction in maybe mainstream Christendom. The reason why is because at the time, the emergent church, or the emerging church, however you want to define it, they were gaining all kinds of traction. And, Mark Driscoll was part of one of the first meetings that they had. You know, they had a lot of influential thinkers and teachers. But Kevin DeYoung was one of the first ones to come on the stage and just say, nope, this is not good, and here's why. It wasn't just kind of being oh, this new thing that young people are trying, we don't want to be a part of it. It's this is actually heresy, and you guys should be thinking through these things. And so what this book does is it goes by chapter, and from a different point of view. When Ted's writing, it's more practical and maybe from a layperson's kind of view, and then when Kevin writes, it's more theological. But both of them, it's just the perfect mix of those two kind of thoughts to get this idea about the emergent church being heretical out. Whether you're more theologically minded, you'll probably appreciate more of Kevin's writing, or whether you're just a little bit more practical and don't like the hoity-toity kind of language of theologians, well, then Ted will probably relate to you, or you'll be able to relate to Ted. But the reason why I love this book is because it does two things. One, it explains what orthodoxy is in a way by kind of giving an example of what it's not in the emergent or emerging church. It goes through and talks about propitiation all the time, because that was the main aspect that the emergent church, emerging, whichever way you want to describe it. It's even hard to nail them down on names, but that's what they were really fighting against. So that definitely gets attacked, and that is still happening today. But also, in another way, it shows that these things come and go. Theology is somewhat circular, in that we just kind of go in circles, and things come up and they get suppressed for a while. Some people say this is the book that killed the emergent church. And in some ways, yes, but also it's coming back again, and it's okay. Not in the way that we want it to come back or whatever, but everyone was so scared about the emergent church. I remember that. Everyone being so concerned. This is going to take over the church. We have to be so careful. All these things, and fighting it tooth and nail. And we should. But also, Jesus says he's going to build his church. So we don't need to be so concerned in the way that we have no hope for the next generation, that they're just going to give into heresy. Because the emergent church came, this book was written, and the emergent church went away. And sure, there are some effects that we see in Christendom now, but when we see some kind of movement come up and we all get in a huff about it, and we're oh, this is it, this is how the church is going to fail. No, God is going to keep his bride. He's going to protect his bride, and everything's going to be okay as long as we stick to orthodoxy and fight with everything that we have, but we don't need to be without hope, you know? So this is one of those books that kind of told me, okay, maybe don't think the sky is falling when there's some heretical belief out there or something that I strongly disagree with in kind of mainstream evangelicalism, because those things come and go. And just like this year, hopefully it'll come and go. I hope this rain stays. I like the rain, so I'm gonna sit out here for a little bit, but I'll be back tomorrow with another book. I will see you then.